between him and people like George W. Bush and Barack Obama, and maybe even to a certain degree Joe Biden, is they seem to come across as the proper people who, they have good families and, they follow the way that, you're supposed to do things. But I would maintain that whatever someone wants to point out wrong that Donald Trump ever did, they will not point out the massive evil that happened in the Bush administration, the Obama administration, and the Biden administration. And George W. Bush created the Patriot Act, which has taken away most of our civil rights. Barack Obama used it and abused our civil rights, even to the point of sending a drone out to kill an American citizen. I mean, just think about that. He was using military assets to kill American citizens. And then he stirred up racism in our country. And then Joe Biden, he began the censorship industrial complex, which Joe Biden put on steroids during his administration, and many other things he was doing, including through Merrick Garland, to undermine our justice system. Adam Schiff is such a liar. He's the front face of an evil that we need to extract in this country.
Yep. Pencil neck, as Trump calls him.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're out of time. We'll be back tomorrow with another report. Go to theconservativecaucus.org, theconservativecaucus.org, and worldviewtube.com. Take care. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus. The big controversy for a lot of folks online is, I guess, a bunch of conservatives went to Qatar, or Qatar, depending on how you say it, including apparently Don Jr. I don't know about that. I haven't seen video of that, but apparently that's the case. But I do have video of Tucker Carlson on stage in Qatar, and apparently he's even going to, I guess, buy property there. Listen to this, guys. Listen to this, and Annie's going to respond to all this. Here we go.
Last question. I've been personally, not to make it about me, but I have been criticized as being a tool of Qatar. And I just want to say what you already know, which is I've never taken anything from your country and don't plan to. I am, however, tomorrow buying a place in Qatar. Both because I am
pay a high check
in Doha, yeah, and I'm doing that because I like the city. I think it's beautiful. But also to make the statement that I'm an American and a free man, and I'll be wherever I want to be.
Wow. Is that the same clip as this one? Why is the audio so messed up on that one? I don't know. It sounded so hingy and everything. I mean, anyway, the audio is what it is. Let's see what this one is.
Personally, not to make it about,
I guess they're all audios that way. They might need some help in Doha with their audio. Okay, I got another one for you, friends. Sounds like Glenn Campbell. Here's another song for you, my friends. That's how Glenn Campbell used to talk, for those who don't know. Here is Carlson again.
Well, I like it here a lot. Yeah, I like it.
You have been...
By the way, I'm an American. I can go wherever I want and speak to anyone I want to because I'm a free man. That's the promise of my country. And some are seeking to change that and to put our population into mental bondage, and I'm not participating in that.
And when you've questioned AIPAC and you've questioned things, are you facing a consequence and a backlash that now day to day?
I have a right to say what I think. I'm an American citizen, period.
Okay, well, I don't know what he means about putting people in bondage or whatever. I think people ought to be able to speak what they want. I'm a free speech guy, right? Now, free speech doesn't mean I can't have standards for my broadcast platform. I don't let people come on here and just curse a blue streak. We try to edit all that out when we play even recordings, right? We don't want anti-Semitism being promoted on the platform. So broadcast standards for my broadcast network does not diminish that I want free speech. You can have, well, the government doesn't let people go on terrestrial radio and use certain words, right? So I am not for canceling people over their views, but I'm also not for saying that people can't criticize people with certain views. And if they do, they're somehow not for free speech. You can't have it both ways. Now, so I don't know what Tucker's talking about, but why on earth would anyone want to own property or even spend time in Qatar? Here's another question. Did Tucker Carlson get paid to go over there? Most speakers of his caliber, I would think, have a pretty high honorarium, speaker's honorarium. So I would just simply ask, did you get paid? And if so, how much? I'm not saying you can't. You have the right to go somewhere and get paid. But curious to know, again, why are these people making trips to Qatar? We've got people out there that are obviously very upset about this, rightfully so. One of them, of course, is none other than Mark Levin. He's been talking about it a lot. He's very disturbed by it. And as a Jewish man, I can see why. And I don't agree with Mark Levin on everything. But this is really kind of troubling. And again, the president's son going over there and all the other reported business deals, very troubling. Where's the outrage by people? But if you're somehow pro-Israel, or if you believe in their biblical historical right to the land, then somehow you're being paid $7,000 for every post on Twitter or X. I've never been paid by the government of Israel or anybody to post anything about Israel. No one pays me to put a post. Our donors support us to put out truth, stories about everything related to Israel, the Middle East, stuff here in America, but no one specifically, I'll make it very clear, no specific group or individual or country ever has paid me and say, here's the money, now go promote Israel. Or no, never. Now, if people want to get paid to go do that, again, it's a free country. But why are people always wanting to question someone's motives that speaks up for Israel? But I don't see a lot of people questioning all the cozying up to Qatar other than by us conservatives, real conservatives. It just seems to be a double standard. Joining me now to talk about all this is Annie Cyrus. And by the way, happy birthday, Annie, to you.
Thank you, Brannon. Appreciate it.
All right. So what do you make of all this? Horrible that you have to be here on Brannon Howse live on your birthday. Wow. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it. I think it is wonderful to close my birthday.
Okay.
What better way to close your birthday than joining Brannon Howse and telling some truth? I think that's pretty amazing.
Well, you're very kind, and I'm glad you're here, and happy birthday. Look at what Levin said 5 hours ago or so. What we saw in Qatar, in the Qatar spectacle this weekend was a massive disconnect between the ruling class elites who lavish praise on the terror monarchy and in return are lavished with money and luxury and the American people. I will be discussing this more on my radio tonight. It's a big and growing problem. We don't need foreign money in our colleges and universities. I'm sure he's referring to what, $40 billion it's reported now has gone from Qatar to American universities?
Yes.
So what do you make of Tucker Carlson saying, I think I might buy a property here?
Why not? I mean, if I had his money and I was in Qatar and I was him, I would do the same thing. Remember, when you take American dollar with you to any of these countries like Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, any of them, I mean, the currency difference, you're a millionaire in those countries, even in Qatar. Now, why would he do it? The same reason Kushner does it, the same reason Trump Jr. does it, the same reason Trump himself does it. It's a good investment, especially if the Western government continues helping Qatar become this fake, modern country in the heart of Asia. It's a good investment. But let me add just a few quick things here to clarify since you asked. What happened over the weekend on the 6th and the 7th of December is called Doha Forum. This was the 23rd annual Doha Forum. There was 2 years that because of COVID, they did it, virtually, and they don't count that. But, however, it is the first time. This is the first time that Tucker Carlson was invited, not as one of the keynote speakers. The list of keynote speakers that I called was Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson was invited for the specific portion of the second day of Doha Forum known as Doha Conversation, when a very well-known host or interviewer is invited to sit on a stage and do a one-on-one interview with one of the heads of Qatar. In Tucker's case, he sat there and did a one-on-one interview. The man you showed on a screen is Qatar's prime minister. So this conversation thing is when they bring someone who's willing to play the card and play the propaganda and ask all the right questions from the foreign minister, prime minister, anybody to push the propaganda of Qatar as this beautiful, modern, very westernized country. That's what Tucker did. He wasn't a keynote speaker. He didn't get up there by himself, have a monologue to talk about things. No, he sat there with a series of questions to ask of the prime minister to make Qatar look like our strongest ally. I think that is an important point to make.
Did you ever think that MAGA or America First would find us here?
Yes, I did.
Years ago, you thought?
I knew we will be here, not this quickly, but I knew we're going to be here around, I want to say July of 2024, where I started hearing the narrative in the campaign speeches by Trump switching tone toward one side versus other. I said this on your show before. One of the three reasons I did not vote for Trump in 2024 was exactly this, when I started hearing his change of tone towards certain countries such as Qatar, such as Saudi Arabia, and on and on.
No, I don't think you've ever, unless I just didn't hear it, I don't think you've ever said on the air that you didn't vote for Trump. So I'm hearing that for the first time, that I think.
It might be the first time on your show. I've said it on air before, but probably it was on my other shows. But yes.
People are going to know, well, did you vote for Harris?
No, I voted for myself. I wrote my own name down.
Okay, good. Good, okay.
Every time there's an option of choosing between what I consider factually and by faith between two evil, I put the third lesser evil, which is myself.
Okay, all right, good. Let's see, what else? What?
But can I address his?
Well, would you feel safe living in Qatar? I mean, someone like me or you going to Qatar, wouldn't we be at great risk?
Well, I wouldn't be like, I would immediately, like at the airport, I would be picked up and next morning, privately somewhere killed and buried. You would probably be on the same list. I'm sorry to say that, but because of your openly and publicly activities and reporting and having rest of the coffers like me and Sharam and Hediye and Yosama on, you're probably on the same kill list. But even as a normal, just some random American Christian going to Qatar is not, I mean, we have had reports, Brannon, American tourists or a European tourist going missing. Qatar won't admit. Iran admits when they arrest them and frame them for spying or being, Zionist. Qatar won't admit to it, but we had plenty of Western people, especially white Christian male, going missing from Qatar.
Now, do you think—
But if you are on their payroll, if you are pushing their propaganda, if you think their country is beautiful and you're willing to invest in their countries, you're safe, you're fine. They'll probably send some bodyguards with you around too.
Now, you mentioned kill list. Do you think there is a kill list with you, me, Usama, Sharam, and others on it?
Yeah. No, I don't think. I know for a fact there's a kill list. Remember my phone call from FBI in 2021 and then 2023?
Right. Now, I know you're on one, but do you think Usama, myself, and others are on it with different groups or countries?
Yes, I do. I do. Because remember, mid-2023, when the plot against Masih Ali-Nejad came out, our own government announced that the hit list is getting boosted up to any journalist, any voice that is talking against their narrative. That includes Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iran was in there, Taliban was in there. Back then, Pakistan was in there, but somehow we faded that away because we were going to make a deal with Pakistan. But yes, our own government stated that with all the list, all the information, all the data they found, after the investigation into Masih Alinejad, specifically IRGC hit list and the remaining list I just mentioned, they have found not just Iranian dissidents or ex-Muslims, but any voice out there that is opposing and exposing any narrative set by the media of the other countries. So based on that knowledge, I said yes.
When do you think will they at some point start acting on these lists?
Well, I would say yes. They have already acted on the list on some of the names. Like, remember when I called you, they haven't started acting on your kill list, but they have started on kill the foundation list. Remember the defunding of his foundation. So the acting has started. However, if we don't get gag order by our own government, is where they're going to have to definitely start, acting on their own. And again, we have reports in last month from America, from France, from UK, Germany, Belgium, the most recent, saying that they are putting time and effort through their intelligence officials to counter plots against people like me and you. It is heavy. We haven't faced it. Well, aside my, 17 moves around the country, we haven't faced a gun yet. But officially, our governments are literally chasing after those who are coming to act on the list. If you're asking me when they're gonna send, armies to our doors, that all depends on when we be picked up by our own. Remember, you talked about it on your 2 days share-a-thon end of the year program, that we are all concerned with when FBI is going to knock at our doors. If they do that, then the Islamists don't have to do it. But if they don't, if FBI doesn't come pick us up, or if the government doesn't put gag order on us, or platforms don't remove us, then yes, their own soldiers are going to have to finish the job.
And what would the administration have to say should a kill list be acted on? And it points back to some of these Islamic states. Are they going to say, are they going to try to say that it was just a cuckoo guy or cuckoo? Because did we just hear the guy in front of the White House from Afghanistan? He just went cuckoo. So Islam.
Right? I'm sorry. Don't you love how the first reaction by Trump is that he's an animal, but then next day it's like, he just went cuckoo.
So are you saying that if you and I are murdered by an Islamist, that this administration, like the last administration, is basically going to cover it up?
Absolutely. It's going to be the same narrative, mental illness, lone wolf, radicalized by local neighbors. Annie provoked them. She should have stopped talking about them. Brannon should have stopped calling it what it is. All those excuses. Again, I know personally of a list of 26 Iranians who have already been killed from the kill list since 1986 until today, and every single one of them either is still a cold case, open case, or the person who was arrested ended up being some mentally ill person or lone wolf, or it was a personal issue. That's the record shows. It doesn't matter where it is. They've been killed in Turkey, in Germany. We had 3 killed in UK. Remember Salman Rushdie? No report mentioned that the guy who was born here, raised in his Lebanese family with devotion to regime of Iran, they just called him a lone wolf who had personal issues with Salman Rushdie. I promise you that person never even read Salman Rushdie's book. But that's how our media phrased it. It was a personal issue. It had nothing to do with the fatwa that's been standing for how long now? 34 years? Mm-hmm. 34 years ago, fatwa on Salman Rushdie was up. It was issued, and to this day, well, now he is, he has lost one eye and pretty much half of his body. But yes, now, me, you, anybody else, if they get us, even this, especially this administration, is going to cover it up. Most likely blame us for being provocative, controversial, Islamophobe. List goes on.
Mm. Well, another reason we're listener supported is because we don't get funding from Israel
Qatar.
or Qatar. I don't get funding from either one. But apparently Qatar does fund journalists. Listen to this, please.
كانوا على البيرول مالنا شلون يعني كنا ندفع لهم بعضهم صاروا نواب الآن وبعضهم صاروا وطنيين أعرفهم أنا في دول كثيرة كانوا ندفع لهم يعني نشرحهم كل سنة وفي ناس لهم مرتبات كان في ذاك هاي كل الدول العربية كانت تعمله شو أنت فكرك مش الكل ولكن الأغلبية.
Wow. Have you seen that clip before?
Yes, I have. And don't you just love how it's like, big deal? Why are you making a big deal out of it? All Muslim countries are doing it. Yes, I have. And yes, that is accurate. And again, this is not a modern thing. This is not a new thing. It's been going on for 50, 60 years.
What does it say about then where we're going 5, 10 years from now?
Are you saying where we're going?
For the country. In
yes.
other words, in the next 5 to 10 years, basically the warning signs is that here are that there's no one really resisting at the governmental level, that you should prepare for Islam to fully take over the United States of America.
If we continue how we are right now, in next 5 years, instead of 18 cities fully conquered in America, we're going to have, every state conquered by Islam in America. And that's not over exaggeration. You look at, again, I repeat, in a month, in 5 weeks, who's being inaugurated in New York City?
Mamdani.
The very man who to this moment is still standing by. By the way, so I want to say kudos. Again, I disagree with Bibi on a lot of things, but good for him, because when he, a few days ago, he was asked by a journalist in Israel saying, what are you going to do after Mamdani's inauguration, considering he said he's going to arrest you if you go to New York City. And Bibi answered very, very calmly and said, well, you're going to have to wait until I arrive there, don't you? I think that was amazing. But we have a mayor who has said he's going to arrest Netanyahu. And Trump basically endorsed him, said we have a lot in common, and he's going to do great things for New York City. And then we have the 2026 coming up with a lot longer list of candidates that are Muslim. And it's not just about being Muslim. It's that when you look into them, wearing the hijab, doing the Sharia, wanting mosques, wanting anti-Islamophobia bills passed, all of those are coming 26. And again, Trump's not stopping them. The White House is not stopping them. Congress is welcoming them. Senate is looking the other way. So yes, we're going to be fully conquered. We will be fully conquered. No, but without even needing another September 11th. We're giving away the country. And again, you have, I'm going to reverse this. Brannon, imagine yesterday and the day before, Doha Forum took place in Doha, Qatar. Report came out that Hunter Biden was on a stage as one of the speakers. Would we hear as much silence as we hear today? Every single person with a microphone and a webcam would be screaming on top of their lungs that Biden should be impeached and Hunter should be arrested and this is treason. They're bringing foreign influence into the country. But if the last name has some sort of Trump, this is 3D chess. Believe in the plan. There's a bigger picture. Yes, there is. The bigger picture is retirement for Trump family in Qatar while we all learn how to wear our hijab and grow our beard. That's the bigger plan.
What Donald Trump, has he tweeted something? Let me just double check. Has he tweeted something? I read that he was tweeted something about Pam Bondi. I'll make sure it's true, because just because you see it on social media, folks, doesn't mean it's true. I thought I just saw something about him tweeting about Pam Bondi, but maybe that's old news. I don't know.
I was about to say, a lot of time they dig things that was posted a while ago, and then, they reposted saying it was recent.
Yeah.
Just gets clicks.
It looks like that was... No, is this new or old? Does anyone know? Pam, I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying it's essentially the same old story as last time. All talk, no action, nothing's being done. What about Comey, Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty, but nothing's being done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Democrat senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case. And many lawyers and legal pundits say so. Lindsay Halligan is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President DJT. Is that new?
Can you scroll a little bit more? If you scroll a little bit more, there should be a date of...
I'm seeing it for the first time.
Is there a date? Normally at the bottom it shows you a date. Oh, it's somebody taking a screenshot from his Truth Social, posting it on X. That's why we don't see the date on the Truth Social post.
But I'm seeing
originally.
it in several places right now.
Yeah, I have not seen this before either. But here's my question.
I mean, as I roll through, I'm seeing multiple people posting this, so it must be new. And I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is why does the president of the United States have to wait on his attorney general? Isn't he the top law enforcement official in the country? Can't he sign arrest warrants? Can't he use insurrection acts? Can't he sign executive orders? I mean, what is he? Why is he sitting around waiting on his? Why can't he just fire his attorney general then and hire an attorney general that will do what he wants? If this is such a problem to him.
Great question. I add another question to your questions. Why is he even posting about this publicly? Like, what am I supposed to do about it, President Trump? You're writing to Pam Bundy and you're posting it on your Truth Social? Like, pick up the phone, call Pam Bundy and say, hey, if you didn't get it done, I'll fire you. When I say the problem with, one of the...
By the way, I'm now seeing this from November 14th. So maybe this is from November 14th. Now I'm seeing one from September 20th. So apparently this has been out here a while. I don't know why I'm just now seeing it, but it still goes to the point. Why
it's the same point.
It's this, and it has to do with the same thing with what's going on with all these Islamic countries. The buck stops at his desk.
Yes. Yes, that's the thing. He needs to stop. Like, okay, I get it. He's all Hollywood. He loves the script and the lighting and the cameras and the powder and the microphone. I get it. But if he would concentrate more on getting things done rather than having this person and that person, and well, I shouldn't say the El Shara and Mamdani and Crown Prince and Erdogan in White House and having cameras there for him to show off, we would actually have results. I'm done saying, well, he just got in. It's been almost a year. And when from Islamization point of view, when I look at it, Brannon, not only he didn't reverse anything, he actually boosted their movement. Just the 4 people I just named that he had at the White House is plenty credit and credibility for Islamists to continue infiltrating, continue getting money. Actually, earlier today on my show, I said we cannot clean house as long as each administration has their own favorite country of the Gulf money.
Wow. All right. What other news do you know tonight, Annie, before we let you go so you can enjoy somewhat a little portion of your birthday evening?
Well, a Substack I put out earlier today, and I took my whole show to talk about it, is let's not take our eyes off of Africa. Mm-hmm. A very small country. When I posted, a lot of people are like, I've never even heard of this country, called Benin. It's in Africa. It's very tiny. It's like 12 to 14 million population. However, 2 days ago, there was a military coup that was successfully implemented in Benin. So keep your eyes on it, because first of all, it's going to become the front for Islamist jihadists in Africa. Also, we're going to get flooded by Benin asylum seekers now, because it's going to be war zone, just like it was in Sudan, Nigeria, Niger, and the rest of African countries. Our government's not going to talk about it. Most Americans don't even know this country exists. But this might be the next flood or next gate for Islamists to find their way from Africa to America. That has been the main focus of my day. Again, one of those things that I had my eyes in this country since 23. I was waiting for it to happen. It happened. And I understand most American media are not going to talk about it. Not because they don't want to. I don't think they're even aware of what's happening there. Most people don't pay attention. But it is something we should pay attention, because that will be another funneling jihadists on their name of asylum seekers into our country.
Let's see. Let me ask.
Oh, and I'm sorry. I just remembered. I have not been on your show since the end of Friday, but Islamic Republic of Iran's Supreme Leader did finally come out and issue a statement about possibility of Netanyahu coming to America, getting a green light from Trump to resume or continue the 12 days war. He actually made a statement, and not word by word, but his statement was, we will fight, we will die, we will not give up. And this time we are ready, so are our allies.
Well, I do have some good news. Governor Ron DeSantis. Yeah, look at this. Governor Ron DeSantis. This is tonight. Florida is designating the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations CARE as a foreign terrorist organization. Florida agencies are hereby directed to undertake all lawful measures to prevent unlawful activities by these organizations, including denying privileges or resources to any providing material support. That's good news.
Great.
But
that is great news.
Will it actually happen, though? Will it actually be more than just an executive order? Will it actually do something?
You have got to stop reading my mind.
Because we know that the Governor Abbott down in Texas has done the same thing, but I don't think that means anything. We know that Trump has an executive order to look into a few chapters. But again, we got these one or two trouble chapters. Oh, they're taken care of. I mean, wait a minute. You have a whole network. So I wonder if this is political posturing. And why are they all doing this now? It must be because the grassroots, they see the grassroots are really, which I'm going to take credit. You and I and Usama and Sharam and a few of us, Robert Spencer, Pamela Geller. There's some of us that have been on this for a couple decades now. So the grassroots must be making enough noise that elected officials at high levels are having to do something that appears as though they're confronting the problem, right?
Absolutely agree. Yes, especially after the lots of noise from all of us regarding Al Shara, Syria, Qatar. This is a movement of, look, we're dealing with the big bad monster, Muslim Brotherhood. Leave Qatar and Syria and Saudi Arabia alone. But here's the thing: what you just read, the same thing with Abbott in Texas. They name Muslim Brotherhood. They also name CARE, right? But all of the CARE chapters are still active and open in Texas. They're still active and open in Florida. Remember, CARE Florida is the one that established on the calendar in Florida only the Islamic Appreciation Month. I will believe this as genuine pushback from our government, local, state, or federal, as soon as we hear headquarters of CARE suing these governors for closing and shutting down care departments in the state. When that happens, what do they mean by any illegal activities? CARE's existence is illegal. So if you're letting a CARE chapter continue running in your state, suing non-Muslims of your state, making money off of your state and federal government through their 501c status, then you're not fighting the problem. We'll see if they're going to close those chapters in Florida and in Texas.
Yeah, we will see.
But on the paper, this is great news.
Okay, now what do you make of this? Disclose.tv. You might need to get out your little search engine real quick. They're reporting that Kushner takes financing role in hostile bid for Warner Brothers. Jared Kushner's affinity partners, along with the Saudi and Qatari sovereign wealth funds, taking financing role in Paramount's $108 billion hostile bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's see here.
Remember, I reported on Thursday or Friday that Netflix is to purchase Warner Brothers for $83 billion.
Right.
I think this is the follow-up on that, because when I followed up, they haven't closed on the deal because it was mentioned that there is a second bidder coming in. So the $83 billion agreement, or pre-agreement, was paused because I'm guessing this is where the hostile bidder is coming in. For $102 billion, is that what it was?
Okay, and by the way,
about $20 billion over.
It's coming in as Kushner role in bid for Warner Brothers raises ethical questions, experts say. And this is Reuters. So this is, again, a mainstream, quote, mainstream. Jared Kushner's financing role in Paramount's $108 billion bid for Warner Brothers Discovery injects Trump family interest into one of the biggest media battles in years, raising concerns of whether the president's influence could tip the scales. Paramount Skydance on Monday launched a hostile bid for Warner Brothers Discovery in a last-ditch effort to outbid Netflix and create a media powerhouse. Now look at this. Paramount said its offer includes financing from Kushner's investment firm Affinity Partners, along with financing from the Saudi and Qatari sovereign wealth funds and Lamad Holding Company owned by Abu Dhabi. Trump told reporters on Monday that he's not spoken with Kushner about the Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay. If this is successful, are you saying that Saudi and Qatari funds will start influencing this Paramount and Netflix programming?
Absolutely. Just like they influenced Fox News. How did we get here with Fox News?
But doesn't Paramount and Netflix both have some programs out there that are pretty pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, let's expose the Islamic agenda? Don't they even have some pretty good films that talk about spies in Iran? I mean, I watched that one on the spy in Iran. Did you watch that one? She was an Israeli spy that went over into Iran. Did you watch that one?
Yes, Tehran. Yes.
It's called Tehran. I watched that. I think it was you that told me to watch it.
Yes.
Do you think you think Saudi Arabia and Qatar can allow those kind of programs to be funded and put on their platform if they end up being successful in this bid?
Saudi Arabia will most certainly allow all of anti-Iran regime movies and shows to continue airing. Yes. Mm-hmm. But let's get a few things. Let's talk about Netflix for a second. Netflix is the opposition bidder against Kushner, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. I have always said, though, a lot of conservatives tend to say, boycott Netflix. Netflix has stayed one of the most unbiased platforms I have ever followed. They do publish Obama's documentary. At the same time, they do air the Red Alert, which was about October 7th.
Which everybody should see that.
Everybody should watch that. Absolutely. So if Netflix does win the bid, which at this point I can definitely say they can't, because there is no way Netflix has the budget that Qatar and Saudi Arabia together can put in. No way. So consider that a loss from Netflix. Now, if Qatar and Saudi Arabia, through Kushner, take over Warner Brothers, then that's where all the anti-Iran regime things are going to stay. However, you're going to see even more American TV shows suddenly having the Muslim hijabi wearing police officer or the FBI agent or the detective coming in, becoming the hero, and more of them facing the horrible Islamophobia in America and how the Jews are oppressing the Muslims in America. That is the new type of series you're going to see. Every show is going to have a new character coming in. We've been seeing it, don't get me wrong, we've been seeing it for the last couple of years. You look at one of the most famous FBI shows called FBI, right? The main character is the Muslim guy who is always dealing with how America is radicalizing Muslim young kids and how everybody who's a terrorist is screaming Allahu Akbar misunderstood Islam. We have had those happening. NCIS Los Angeles suddenly went from fighting jihadists to having their best agent being this hijab very Muslim woman from Middle East. We've seen the trickle of it. But if they do win the bid, now how did we see the trickle? As I go through all of this, by the way, is in my book, if you don't mind me plugging it, though the book is not out yet. We started facing that through organizations like CARE. Why? Because a lot of big companies like Paramount Picture, admittedly by themselves, they started having CARE members come into studios and read the scripts to avoid any Islamophobia. So CARE started rewriting characters in the scripts. Now imagine if you have Saudi and Qatari money rewriting characters, rewriting stories, rewriting heroes and monsters. That's what we're going to face.
You think this is going to go through?
Yes. Qatar and Saudi Arabia have unlimited sources of money. They infiltrated all of our colleges. The only 3 colleges Iran could infiltrate to counter Qatar was 3. Iran, with that much money, they infiltrated 3 colleges. The rest of them are under control of Qatari, some of them Saudi. So yes, if they entered this bed, they'll win it. Funny enough, yesterday I followed up to see if the purchase is completed by Netflix. I was happy about it. And then I saw that there's a hold on the offer. I didn't know that Kushner's coming in to be involved with Qatar and Saudi money. And yes, this should raise questions. How far is Jared Kushner going to, I mean, the 666 Fifth Avenue was his personal business. Fine, he wants to do that. But the rest of it is involving American lives, our culture. So I guess because it's Kushner, I'm sure there's a bigger picture we're not seeing today. But yes, Qatar and Saudi will win this bet. Netflix cannot bet them.
So again, this goes back to what we started out with, which is they're going to be running the education game, the media game, the political game. They're going to have the major power centers. Islam will have the major power centers. Whereas the Marxists,
candidates.
Yeah, where they're going to fund the candidates they want. They'll have the educational propaganda they're funding. They'll have the media, the films, the movies, etc. The way the Marxists said we're going to have the long march through the institutions, right? And the Marxists set out to hit those power centers. Now the Islamists are doing it. And of course, the Islamists are in partnership with them because we know that Carlos the Jackal said without a coalition of Marxists and Islamists, we can't bring down America. But if all of our kids and grandkids and citizens are raised on a diet of pro-Islam through their mass media, plus their educational system, and then they buy the candidates who then pass hate crime laws to stop people like you and I from telling the truth, pretty soon you have an echo chamber for Islam in America.
Yes, sir. You literally, what you just said would make a perfect treatment of my book.
Really?
How every jihad named, all 10 of them, and how we have looked the other way while they use every single one of these 10 faces of jihad to conquer us. And if we don't reverse the damage, we might as well, as I said, discover an island and move, or get ready to fight in any shape or form, genuinely in any shape or form.
Is this an accurate video? Is this accurate? Again, we have to be so careful what's online. Is this accurate?
With about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice, is to replace it with the people who represent the Prophet ﷺ.
Let me do that again. Let me start from the beginning.
We may end up with about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice, is to replace it with the people who represent the Prophet ﷺ. We may
now with AI and everything, we have to double check and verify. Is this a legitimate?
I need to check, and I'm not. This did not look like an AI made video. However, the cuts, if you play it back, the second cut where he said to replace it with Mohammed's idea, it feels like something was taken out of that.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure it was a jump cut there, but it was definitely not an AI made. I mean,
And I don't know how much, you know,
Yeah,
it was put up there by Tony. Here's Tony. I've played a lot of his stuff. You know who he is?
I have come across some of his posts on X. Yes.
So let's look into that, see if that's legit. But this would not be the first time they've told us they're going to do this.
Well, here's the thing. What he's claiming, it's not made up narrative. That is accurate. That is correct. Remember, again, going back to the sources of Islam, Muhammad said you have to obey the law of the land until it goes against word of Allah. Then it is obligatory to you to reverse those rules and laws and behavior back to obeying Allah's words. So that being said, yes, a Muslim's duty in a society of a non-Muslims is either become a lawmaker, change the law, become a teacher, teach kids Islam, I don't know, become a police officer to enforce Sharia, whatever role you can. Again, these are all the jihads we're talking about, right? Each Muslim in a community of non-Muslims have their own duty, because end game, every breathing shall be Mohammedan, every person shall follow Sharia. How do we get there? Everybody plays their role. Everybody plays their role. They go knock at the neighbor, say, hey, you know, can you tone it down a little bit? We're about to do our prayer. Next time, and then gradually neighbor will automatically tone it down. You culturally change house by house. Remember the video of the imam who said, Islam will come to every single house in America without you even knowing it? That was when they secretly started having a chapter about Muhammad as prophet in the school books. No chapter about Christ, no chapter about Noah, no chapter about Abraham, no chapter about anybody, just Muhammad. Making him this great husband, a one wife. Bunch of lies. I still have that book.
Let's
one
also,
of the parents sent it to me.
I also want to know, what do you think is coming in 2026 where we wrap here? Here is another video by Mamdani. What do you think is coming in 2026, particularly when it comes to ICE and illegals and anything else terrorism-wise? Here we go.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not consent to entry, and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go? Repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest, and when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
All right, so what do you think is coming with that in 2026 in New York when it comes to illegals?
Can I say something before I answer your question?
Yes.
Mayor-elect Mamdani, New Yorkers aren't the only ones who have the right to protest. Americans have the right to protest. But when we say New Yorkers or we say Americans, that applies to those who are Americans through either birth or naturalization. But the fact that you had to put a subtitle on your video in Spanish says all I need to know about your mindset. You really think the samples of arrest and judge order and all of that, those that you're explaining to, they would even know the difference? None of them, either from Mexico, from Syria, from Iran, they don't read English. They don't talk English. They don't understand. So maybe you should tell them first, go learn English, so when they show you an arrest warrant, you know if it's real or not. Sorry, some of these videos are just out there. Anyhow, okay, now what's coming? In New York City, I honestly don't know. Because of the absolute last minute flip of Trump on Mamdani, I have no idea if anything is going to even happen in New York City, because Trump supports everything Mamdani proposed. So New York City is just going to be destroyed with no pushback. Simple as that.
Okay, so how many? Yeah.
But as far as the entire country and ICE and illegals, let me be the Debbie Downer. The same thing that happened in 2025. We arrested a bunch of people. We deported nobody.
Well, let me get to that, because how many of these people that are being arrested as, quote, illegals are Islamists? How many of them are just Hispanic from Honduras, Mexico, Guatemala, wherever they might be? How many of them are actually illegals that are Islamists from Middle Eastern countries? Do we even know? Do we even know?
Nope, we don't. But there is no database. There's no report. There is no way to find out.
What I'm trying to figure out is the Trump administration cracking down on Middle Easterners or not? Because that would seem a little odd if you're in partnership with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all these groups. Would you go around arresting some of their people?
Yes. So here's the new language. Again, I have not seen it happen, but the report by Trump phrased it very bad, and then immigration put out a press release properly. Supposedly, they have put a hold on any application, accepting new application. He called it third world countries, but technically from the 19 countries that were originally in his travel ban from April 2025. They are also reviewing every application in process, completed, or even as far as a green card received. They're reviewing all those cases from those 19 countries only. Now, Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Syria or Turkey, they're not in that list. So he's not touching his friends' people. His touching, or immigration is reviewing, again, this is what they claimed. I have not seen proof. I have not seen a single person's case saying, oh, we found this person. I mean, I would have started with Ilhan Omar, right? Or Ilhan Omar's brother. Why don't we start there? Let's look at their application and find the fraud and then deport them both. I haven't heard any cases found, discovered. I know a lot. I said on my show, a lot of Iranians contacted me panicking. Are they going to deport me? I'm like, no. I don't think they're going to review, but because Iran is on the list, they're going to review every application of an Iranian, including those who hold green card. If they find a problem, you're going to be brought back for new interview, and they go from there. So again, another talk. And within that tough talk, his friends are not include the list of countries that are being monitored. It's not.
All right. Now, let's go to another tweet by President Trump today, because I think, frankly, where we're headed, it's my opinion, all of this controversy of housekeepers, Mexican, Hispanic housekeepers being arrested or workers being arrested, and I'm not trying to imply that all Mexicans, that's all they do is housekeeping, but there are a lot of families that have had housekeepers and people that have been with the family for years, and they're now seeing this on a personal level. And of course, then you have employers that have people that work, roofing houses or whatever it might be. The point I'm trying to make is, I believe, in my opinion, what the globalists are doing here, whether Trump knows it or not, is this is a process in causing the Americans to see all of this and think, well, it is kind of sad that some of these people who've been here so long and have really obeyed the rules and not been in trouble and worked hard should be sent back. Then there's other Americans saying, I don't care, you're illegal, you got to go. It's created a division, right? And I'm wondering if the division is going to be used to say, well, we can stop all of that. We just have to have biometrics. Everybody needs to agree to biometrics, which is what I predicted in 2020. I said, you watch. they're going to use the biometrics for coming in and out, and they're going to create the scenario where the left has reasons to love it and the right has reasons to love it. Well, we don't want people double dipping now, do we? And getting on benefits they don't deserve. And so everyone will have something they argue and they'll agree to it. I think in part that's what this is doing. Because I talk to people who are not for all the criminal, illegal aliens being here, but then I talk to people like, yeah, but I just don't know how I feel about some of these other folks being rounded up that are, just came here to try to better their life. Look, I'm not going to, I think if you're illegal, you're illegal. Okay, this is a problem. But there are people that are struggling with this when it comes to the people that are nonviolent. That's just human nature, and some people are just more tenderhearted that way or whatever. But I think it's setting up a scenario to condition people to deal with the controversy to be removed. The cognitive dissonance, if you will, can all be removed by going to biometrics. Now, to go to biometrics, you have to have AI, powerful data centers, the whole centralization of power, which brings us to this, President Trump today. There must be only one rule book if we are going to continue to lead in AI. We are beating all countries at this point in the race, but that won't last long if we are going to have 50 states, many of them bad actors, involved in rules and the approval process. There can be no doubt about this. AI will be destroyed in its infancy. I will be doing a one rule executive order this week. You can't expect a company to get 50 approvals every time they want to do something. That will never work, end quote. Okay, we got to get Patrick Wood on about this. But here's the problem. Are we now just nullifying state rights? Are we now saying the powers, the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the powers the federal government has or limited express, the unlisted powers belonging to states and tractable people thereof is now gone? Because if a state says, wait a minute, we don't want AI being used to do X, Y, and Z that can track, violate the privacy, infringe on the civil liberties, anything that has social credit scores. We don't want all of this to be set up in our state. Are you telling me now states don't have this? We're going to basically set up. I mean, can you imagine if Joe Biden tried this or Barack Obama tried this? Annie?
If Obama or Biden did this, well, as you said, tried to do this, again, we would be here. It would be plastered everywhere in so many different angles. Dictator using their pen to force things, unconstitutional, going against 10th Amendment, they're selling us to robots. All of that would be on the table. But I actually saw this morning, and the very first thing that came to my mind was, I want to be very clear, I am not calling Trump a dictator. However, with this post and this decision, which clearly he's going to sign an executive order to make this happen, people need to come to realize that President Trump is becoming one of the most dangerous presidents to our Constitution, to our freedom, and to our liberties. It's one thing to use your pen to pardon innocent people who were persecuted by Biden, J6ers. It's even another thing if you want to use your pen to force your peace prize with FIFA. I just had to put that in there. It's a whole different thing when you are, you just said it, you are taking away the constitutional right given to states because you made a deal with the devil, also known as Palantir, and now you have to deliver. What's going to happen when an AI company decides that every school in the country should start using the AI buddy for students?
Yeah.
If states don't have the right to say no, because Trump executive order is giving federal approval to AI instead of a state, then every single child is going to be forced to use an AI buddy without their parents' supervision. Have we not suffered enough under federal involvement with our homeschoolings?
Yeah, and what about social credit scores? If the states say we're not doing social credit scores, One reason that the Real ID Act, which was proposed, if I remember correctly, during the George W. Bush administration after 9/11, the Attorney General was Alberto Gonzales. And remember, they were pushing this since George W. Bush after 9/11, 2001. Here we are, December 2025, 24 years later, and they're trying to get the Real ID Act still done. They're trying to set up all kinds of reasons, to compel people to do it. Why is it taking 24 years? Well, I remember reporting why. Many states said this is an unfunded liability. We don't want to have our drivers, DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, involved in doing all this. We don't want to be a part of this. It's an unfunded liability, too expensive, too labor intense. We're not doing. States rebelled. Go look it up.
Yes. States
rebelled. So tell me that there isn't a track record already of states rebelling against things related in this sphere. States are going to say, look, we don't want Real ID. Or we don't want social credit scores. We don't want, and name what it is. How are they going to protect their sovereignty and that of their people as a independent constitutional republic that we are to be as each sovereign state? Now look, this was Joe Allen. He put out, there is no one standard though. There is no one rule book. How do you preempt state laws with nothing? So he's saying, Mr. President, there is no one rule book. Where is it? Now, as you start scrolling through the responses here, it's not good for President Trump. And this is why, again, President Trump's numbers are collapsing. Why you have people like Mark Mitchell on here last week warning. He says, control the spread of unwarranted ideologies, ? That ain't just plain raw power and control. There's that too. Trump has boomer brain. Not about that life. So he's going to force WIMO in Florida. The demand side of economy must crash at once. Which state has the lowest AI development? That would be the safest, most prosperous place. I believe that George Orwell's biggest fear would have been artificial intelligence. This will be the first time I pray for Trump to lose at the Supreme Court. Someone says civil war. Another person says not coming out for the midterms. That's officially now a fact. This is a total deal breaker. Energy production is the standard, and China is producing more energy than any other civilization on or in the planet. So guess who's winning? He officially chose the rich tech oligarchs over us, the same ones that hated him and helped him. Tonight on the Worldview Report, more fraud uncovered by Somali refugees, and it's expanding beyond just Minnesota. We'll show you how at least one state is moving forward with plans for a digital ID. And it's not just California or New York or some other diehard blue state. The former head of the CDC says the COVID shots should be permanently removed from the market due to safety concerns. Another American gets attacked by an illegal alien on a Charlotte, North Carolina light rail train. And the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices votes in favor of eliminating the universal recommendation that all newborns are subjected to a hepatitis B vaccine at birth. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brannon Howse. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brannon Howse.
Good evening, and welcome to the Worldview Report. Leading off tonight, we have a breaking news story about Somali refugees committing fraud, not just in Minnesota, but also in the state of Maine. Steve Robinson, editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire, he broke the story. Robinson, in an interview with Newsmax, said that a refugee from Somalia came to America, started a nonprofit, and opened a multi-million-dollar migrant care service agency. He added, quote, "He's getting over $5 million per year from American taxpayers, being given no-bid contracts from Maine Governor Janet Mills, and is building a military in Somalia. He has been funneling money back to Somalia to build a military in Somalia. The guy is running a migrant services agency that bills Maine Care, which is what we call Medicaid, about $5 million a year," end quote. He used the money reportedly raised in the U.S. to buy weapons, munitions, and supplies for a paramilitary force he had hoped to lead as the chief warlord of a state in southern Somalia. Here's Robinson with the rest of the story, including the involvement of Maine's Democrat Governor Janet Mills. Watch this.
Let's introduce you to Somali-American Abdullah Ali, who came to the U.S. from Somalia in 2009. You're looking at, obviously, the man on my right who had discovered this story. He became a U.S. citizen, started a nonprofit to help immigrants, started several businesses, including a multi-million-dollar migrant care service agency, and in 2024, he ran for president as he raised money to bankroll a militia in Somalia. Yes, you heard that right. A U.S. citizen who, according to the Maine Wire, gave an interview with Kenyan media in which he said he raised money in the U.S. to buy weapons, munitions, and supplies for paramilitary force he had hoped to lead as the president of Jubaland. Yes, that is a real state in Somalia. He was running for president in Somalia. Of course, he lost the election. We reached out to the Gateway Community Services in Maine, which Ali founded, did not hear back, ironically enough. The man who broke this report, editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire, Steve Robinson, dude, this is crazy.
You really can't make this stuff up. I mean, the guy's running a migrant services agency that bills Maine Care, which is what we call Medicaid, about $5 million a year. At the same time that he's running for president, and to be clear,
in Somalia,
that he's running to be the warlord of Jubaland. Elections in Jubaland aren't exactly like elections in America. It's, whoever has the most guns is able to certify the election. So he needed to buy a paramilitary organization and paramilitary support in order to win that election, and he lost it. But at the very same time that he was in Jubaland and Kenya trying to become a warlord in southern Somalia, he was getting no-bid contracts from the administration of Governor Janet Mills, a Democrat who has been in cahoots with Gateway Community Services from the very beginning. So if there's one thing that I would implore your listeners to understand, it's in Minnesota and in Maine, it's not just the Somali diaspora that has come over here and decided to engage in this criminal behavior. It's an industrial complex with the Democratic Party that enables and turns a blind eye to this behavior because they benefit from it through political support. And indeed, Abdullahi Ali's number two, his assistant executive director, is the former mayor of South Portland, Maine, and is currently a state representative from South Portland and a member of the Appropriations Committee. Decca Delac, one of his former employees, Yusuf, is a representative from Portland. Many Gateway Community Services alums have gone on to become involved in politics, and Governor Janet Mills created the Office of New Americans specifically to cater to the new Americans, new Mainers, illegal aliens. And the only employee of that organization is Alkas Ahmed from Sudan, who is a former employee of Gateway Community Services.
I wish I had more time for this, but you're on a roll. Basically, long story short, is Maine's got a bunch of fraud with people taking money from the government and the taxpayers and then buying rocket launchers, sending them back to run for elections and president of whatever that place is. Jubaland.
And then they're also turning around and getting out the vote for Democrats in places like Lewiston, Maine and Portland, Maine.
Yeah, and when you drive into Maine, there's a big sign that says Maine, the way life should be. Not the way I see it. Steve Robinson, we appreciate it.
So the Maine taxpayers are funding one side in the ongoing civil war in Somalia. And Democrat governors like Tim Walz in Minnesota and Janet Mills in Maine, they're okay with that? You really can't make this stuff up now, can you? In an Epoch Times interview airing on November 9th, former CDC director Dr. Robert Redfield, he calls for Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 mRNA injections to be pulled from the market because, quote, there's too many unknowns, end quote. Redfield, who led the CDC from 2018 until January of 2021, said he no longer recommends mRNA vaccines after working directly with patients suffering from vaccine injuries. Here's what he said, quote, I really would like to see the mRNA vaccine use curtailed. And personally, I'd like to see it eliminated because I think there's too many unknowns, end quote. And then he explained, quote, when I give you an mRNA vaccine, what I do is I turn your body into a spike protein production factory. And spike protein is a very immunotoxic protein, end quote. The interview, well, it marks the first time that a former CDC director has publicly called for the removal of mRNA shots from the market. And now we can add Dr. Robert Redfield to the growing list of over 81,000 physicians, scientists, concerned citizens, and 240 elected officials. Those are numbers that are documented in a recent peer-reviewed study. All have called for the immediate removal of COVID-19 vaccines from the market. Experts are issuing new warnings about the growing cancer risk tied to lab-grown fake meat, raising alarms about a product marketed as the future of sustainable food, built on technology that, well, disturbingly is similar to tumor biology. Lab-grown meat, well, it depends on immortalized cell lines, which are engineered to replicate endlessly, just like cancer, according to reports. Scientists note this very fact alone warrants major concern. Yet, companies in the space apparently refuse to disclose key genetic modifications, growth factors, antibiotics, or chemical inputs that are used to accelerate the process. However, the regulators approving these products, they aren't asking many questions. Florida and several other states, they have already banned lab-grown meat, citing inadequate safety data and, of course, growing distrust of corporate-controlled food systems. The warnings now are spreading across the country, with the food safety world suggesting that those bans may have been well warranted. The Campbell's soup controversy, well, that has stoked fears over lab-grown ingredients, right? Without, of course, the consumers being made aware of such ingredients. Campbell's soup, that company is now under scrutiny after what was reported to be leaked audio that exposed an executive mocking customers. Martin Bailey, Campbell's vice president of information technology, referred to one of the company's ingredients as bioengineered meat and suggested that some company products contained lab-grown chicken from a 3D printer. This is what numerous news and print outlets are reporting. The suspect charged over the weekend for allegedly stabbing and seriously injuring a man on a Charlotte light rail train was a previously deported illegal immigrant. That's what the Department of Homeland Security has confirmed. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, they announced in a Saturday morning X post that it charged Oscar Celeranzo, 33, who attempted first-degree murder and 4 other charges after he allegedly stabbed Kenyon Dobby right in the chest on Friday night. The incident took place on the Lynx Blue Line. That's the same transit line that a mentally ill career criminal fatally stabbed, well, you remember, the 23-year-old refugee from war-torn Ukraine, and that was back on August 22nd. Soranzo, he's a Honduran national, and he was deported by the Trump administration in 2018. That's what the DHS confirmed to Fox News' Bill Malugin. The suspect, however, illegally re-entered the country 3 years later. That was after Joe Biden assumed the presidency, only then, of course, to be deported again by the new administration. He illegally re-entered the U.S. once again at an unspecified time, according to Malugin. Celeranzo was previously arrested in the U.S. on several charges, including aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. We'll be right back after this short break. Do you appreciate all the free programming we produce here at Worldview Tube? Well, if you do, we need your partnership now. If you're already supporting us, thank you. If you're not, would you please consider doing so? We have to have a big November and December end of the year giving. Please go here right now to this website, worldviewfoundation.com. Worldviewfoundation.com. You can give through credit card. You can